evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 6, Episode 36, DJI Mini 4 Pro leaks. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. Before I greet everybody, I just want to take us back a week. We went through a hurricane a week ago today, okay? Well, on the outskirts, but we had to prepare for one and act like we were going to get hit. And very fortunate, and I want to report to all of you. You probably saw the updates and everything. But I want to report to everybody that we really didn't get a whole lot of wind and rain. In fact, the 4, possibly maybe 5 hurricanes that I've been through since I've moved here, this was by far the most minimal impact. We had very minimal wind, very minimal rain. Very fortunate. Those up in Cedar Key did get hit, and they did get hit pretty hard up there. But fortunately, where it hit in the bend, it's called the Bend up there, where, Florida takes the turn up there by the peninsula. It's not as populated as like we are down here in Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota, Fort Myers, and so forth. So we're very fortunate. And to those who got hit by it in Georgia and maybe South Carolina, our thoughts and prayers are with them, because, it did leave an impact. So just want to kind of start off with that. Let's see who all is in that house tonight. I know we got a house full, and we got a lot to talk about tonight here. Jody Drone Shots, Quinn Dynasty Drones, USA Drone Flyer Captain Joe Merrick is here. John Olson is here. Let's see who else is here. Art is here. Akarasho, John, Flying Flynn Media. Let's see who else. Richard is here. Sergeant Rock is here. Who else? Well, Lauren is here. Welcome, Lauren. All right, here. Drone Views Media. Fly Guy Merrill. All right. Let's see who else we got. Leonard Oglesby. Welcome, Leonard. KC Crime Fighter. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Okay. All right. Like I said, we got a full. We're talking full. Last week we ended a little bit early because there really wasn't a whole lot to discuss. Well, tonight we're wall to wall. We're pretty full. Marcus and Ron will join us here in a little bit, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. It really is a lot. So, but again, a week ago today we were going through the hurricane, and today, it's very thankful for minimal impact, and hoping that that's our one and done for the year. Okay. That would be really nice. I'm not going to complain. Trust me. One a year is almost too much in my book. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. And the first thing is, there was an article on Drone DJ today. The Autel drones approved for remote ID. I wanted to go over that here. Let's go ahead and share the screen here. All right. Which Autel robotics drones are approved for FAA remote ID? FAA remote ID rules apply to all drones operated in the United States with following exceptions. You can fly a drone that weighs less than 250 grams, such as the Autel Evo Nano. You fly it only for recreation purposes. You fly a drone in an FAA-recognized identification area. The FRIAs will be your traditional model airplane fields where hobbyists have gathered and flown safely for decades. Okay. Let's get to the meat of the article. Autel Evo Nano, weighing less than 250 grams. The Nano is a compact drone. The Autel drone models that have been approved by the FAA for adequate compliance with its remote ID rule are the Autel Evo Nano, the Autel Evo Lite, the Autel Evo Lite Plus, the Autel Evo 2 V3, the Autel Evo Max, the Autel Dragonfish Standard. Okay, and that's that big commercial drone that they have. The Autel Dragonfish Pro. Okay, so this is the list from Autel, and it looks like it's pretty much all the drones that they currently have right now, which is a good thing. These are approved for remote ID, so that's good. Obviously, older Autel drones, you would probably have to look at some type of aftermarket remote ID solution for that. If you want to stay compliant, that would be where you would go. But I think it's a good article. And again, just to repeat, for those of you who aren't familiar, all these articles. And I actually, this week, I took the time. It's a little bit harder to post things now out to the Facebook pages because their Facebook is, anyway, it makes it more difficult to post out to pages and to groups. These are all in the groups, but I took the effort today to go ahead out there and post these to the Facebook page as well. So all these articles, everything that we're going over tonight is in Build a Drone Reviewer Facebook group and Facebook page. So feel free to look these articles up and read them at your leisure. I want to call that out to make sure that if you want to, it's easier for me to do that than to drop the links in the description. That way you guys can find them. They're there. They're ready. They're easily accessible. So we have that. All right. That's a good thing here. So I'm going to move on here. Now, the Mavic 3 had a huge firmware update, and we're going to go over that here in just a little bit. But I want to talk about the Air 3 had a firmware update. Now, I put out a YouTube Shorts regarding this, and we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and share the article on this here. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Yes, DJI Air 3 firmware update arrives with bug fixes. Okay. All right. Aircraft firmware version V0100.0400 is now available to download for the Air 3. The DJI Fly app has not been updated, but you'd want to check the camera settings in the app after updating the firmware since they'd likely reset to the default. Official release notes supplied by DJI do not mention specifically which issues are being resolved by the new firmware, but some users have reported better camera performance after the update. It's worth mentioning the Air 3 features dual cameras, both equipped with 1 over 1/3 inch sensors to capture 48 megapixel photos and 4K 60 frames per second HDR videos. In terms of imaging, the ISP performance and algorithms of the drone have been improved by DJI, resulting in enhanced overall image quality. Moreover, the dual camera image consistency is high, providing ample post-processing space with low difficulty. Besides, compared to the Air 2S, the latest model, the Air series, has undergone comprehensive upgrades in terms of battery life, image transmission, and obstacle avoidance, all aiming to deliver a more enjoyable flying experience to users. Okay. Basically, I did the firmware update, and then I went out for my flight this weekend, and I have a video coming out this week. I actually have 2 videos coming out on the Air 3 this week. The one I did right after both of them were after the firmware update. And I can tell you this: the camera things look sharper. I will tell you that. And I did something I haven't done with a feature that's been on drones for quite some time. So we'll feel free to take a look at that. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Pretty darn good. How's William?
I'm telling you, it's like if there's we may have to be on here like 2 or 3 hours tonight. Okay, with everything we got to cover.
Yeah, I've just been out trying out that new update with this.
Well, I was going to say something. I went out to Drone XL and I saw Russ from 51 Drones had a video out there. So I assume he was probably part of the beta testers.
Looks like they all were, except for you and me, Bill.
Yeah, everybody knew about this ahead of time. And of course, our friend Igor had posted all the goodies on that out there as well, too.
Yeah, Jobo did one. Aldrin did one that I know of. And like you, I initially saw Russ's video, and his video was very comprehensive. He went through pretty much everything.
Yeah, and that kind of tells me here. That kind of tells me, and we're gonna go over this here. And here's Ron. Hey, Ron.
Hello, gentlemen. How we doing tonight?
Well, you're absolutely fantastic. I was telling Marcus, we may be on 2 or 3 hours tonight with all the everything we got to talk about.
This will be a barn burner.
Did you get yours flying?
I did test fly, so we get to that part, I can tell you my findings.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, we're going to go over this here, and I want to bring it up panel by panel. Igor did a great job breaking it down, so I want to go over that because I think this is important enough to go over it. And I was just remarking to Marcus, Ron, obviously, the three of us weren't privy to getting the firmware update to beta test, like our good friend Dobo and Russ from 51 Drones and Aldrin and everybody. They had this ahead of time because it was a big enough of an update. I mean, this is, and I want to say this before we start going over this, and I want to get your thoughts before we dive into this. Does this make the Mavic 3 the best consumer drone that DJI has right now?
Well, I think Marcus was saying earlier today, it puts the Pro back in the Mavic 3 line of drones.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
and Bill, before you get started on these features, I do have to caution you that just the standard Mavic 3 gets kind of a stripped down version of these features. You don't get everything on the Mavic 3.
Right.
Well, everything but the 3X Tele, Ron. What?
Well, we'll go over that when he gets to it. But I'll explain something we talked about today did not come to fruition on the Mavic 3.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Okay. DJI leakers detail trove of improvements in Mavic 3 drone series upgrade. Okay. So we're going to go out to, let's see here. We're going to go out to Igor. And what I want to do is, okay.
Igor was a busy man this weekend, Bill.
Oh my gosh, he sure was. He
didn't get the Labor Day holiday off like the rest of us, Bill.
No, he did not. He was burning the midnight oil, Ron, that's for sure. Just about every which way, shape, and form. Okay.
See, you guys always throw me because I've always heard it pronounced Igor.
Probably it could be. Okay, here Mavic 3 series update: Mavic 3, Mavic 3 Cine, Mavic 3 Classic, Mavic 3 Pro, Mavic 3 Pro Cine. Feature description: flight assistance imaging. Utilizing the fisheye lens on the fuselage, it provides black and white visual images in 4 directions: front, back, left, and right, assisting in observing obstacles in the blind spot of flight and enhancing the safety of aerial photography. So what do you guys think about this one?
Works awesome. I had fun with it.
You tried it? Okay.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
how did you activate it? I never saw an option to use vision.
It's down there on the map, Ron. You can cycle from the map to the attitude indicator, and then from the attitude indicator to the cameras.
I never noticed
any. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, you touch it, it takes you to the attitude indicator. You touch it again, it takes you to the cameras.
Okay, so you have to know what you're doing. Okay, yeah.
Okay, very good.
Good.
Okay, so then that's the first part. Here's the second part here. Application scenarios: fly around, telephoto, and night flights. When conducting a circling shot, observe obstacles on both sides through lateral auxiliary imaging. Telephoto: the long focus camera has a narrowed field of view, making it difficult to judge the distance of objects. This can be assisted by forward vision auxiliary images to present the environment ahead, allowing for focus, long lens composition. Night flights: at night, the lighting conditions do not meet the requirements for obstacle avoidance, but obstacles can be detected by observing bright points in the visual auxiliary images to determine if there are objects in the vicinity. Okay.
Can I expand on that a little bit, Bill?
You sure can, Marcus. Go ahead.
So messing around with it, when I was messing around with it today, I was thinking about exactly that. I was thinking, okay, when will I ever use this? You know what? For me, honestly, the obstacle avoidance is what I'll use. Now, they're talking about night flights. Yeah, I suppose then you could, but like Ron and I have discussed this many times, I very seldom fly at night, very seldom. But I suppose, and I guess if I am flying at night, hopefully I'm not that close to anything. But then the other thing that I can think of, though, is if you are a serious videographer and you are trying to get a shot, you're going to turn obstacle avoidance off because not only do you not want it to bypass, you don't even want the drone to break. You want it to be in a certain position in space. And this allows you that kind of situational awareness to be able to do that. I'll be honest with you, for the average guys like us, it's just kind of a gimmick. It's fun. But the other feature that with regard to OA, the attitude indicator, where it shows the hazards around you, that one I can see would be very valuable to us.
Yeah, I did not, I've tested with the Beast. I did not have a lot of stuff to avoid there, but I will take it over to the park tomorrow where there's plenty to avoid and try that out and try your method of using the all the is that what's called the vision assist, that feature?
You know what? I don't know exactly what.
Yeah, there's so many new
Yeah.
terminologies, but vision position. But anyhow, I'm going to try that tomorrow at the park where there's plenty to avoid.
And that's what I did, Ron. I was out at the park and I had it all between the trees and so forth, and it's effective. It works really well.
Bill, this nobody talks about this, and this may be something of a previous update that I haven't flown the drone for a while, mainly, so I may have missed this. But Bill, you don't have the little Avata FPV drone, but when you get that drone, it has a home point. Everywhere you go on the Avata, that's on the Mavic 3 now. That little H, as soon as I took up, I said, oh, look, the little H from the Avata's there. So, and even when you do the return to home, when it's doing that new thing, that AR home point, it had got the little H right in the middle of where it's coming back to. That little H, that's the best little thing, Marcus.
So Ron, that augmented reality, what I did was I took it out and I went over one of the ponds out at the park and I got the drone down low so that I knew it would have to go up and over obstacles to get to the return to home.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
And it was so fun watching that AR path. It just did a big arc up and over and back down. It was really cool.
Yeah, I wasn't smart to do that. It just kind of came back straight back to me. Yeah. But you know what I did, Bill, to make it interesting? So
what's that?
I flew down from my point in the beach down to above the pier, hit return to home, and it put the little pathway up and put the little H up. But then I turned the 7X camera on and even digital zoom the 7X camera, and there I was standing there on top of the dune there waving or whatever as it was coming back or whatever.
That's awesome.
One use for the 7X camera. But here's one thing Marcus and I talked about today, Bill. One of the things is it gave the 7X tele lens. I guess the 3X also the D-Log AM and the HDL, the 10-bit feature. Well, guess what, Marcus? It didn't give it to. It may give it to in the Mavic 3 Pro, but not on the regular Mavic 3. I played around with the settings and I could find no way to turn those features on the 7X camera.
And Ron, I'm sorry, I didn't even look at that because it's not a feature I'm terribly worried about.
It's probably limited just to because there was rumors that the 7X camera on the Pro wasn't the same camera as improved camera. So yeah, unless I was missing something, you don't get that on the plain Mavic 3.
Hey, Ron, Bill, I know we're probably derailing your agenda here.
No, go for it. No.
But one of the things so Ron and I, when we did our updates today, we both purposely did it differently. Ron did the OA over the app update, and then I did it with the DJI Assistant 2. And what I wanted to tell Ron was, when I was all done and I got out to the park, it had to do further updating. And, well, I think there's a good reason for it. So I updated this on Assistant 2, then I updated this. And I think what it had to do is put them both in agreement, right? They both had to agree that they had, certain firmware. It didn't take very long.
It did one inconsistent firmware.
Right. So when you did it, you were doing it over the app. So of course it was doing all that in the background. And the way I did it separately, I think it just had to say, okay, I'm running this, and the other one says, yeah, I'm running this, and
Now see, and I'm gonna make that's a good point that you brought up, Marcus. Okay, because for years I have been saying, use Assistant 2, but that was until we started getting the smart controllers in the RC and the RC2, and then that ball game changed. Okay, because I'll tell you what, I am doing updates like Ron does them. I do that through the controller, and I've not gone out. Every time I've gone out to fire it up, it's ready to go. Okay.
Well, Bill, I have a little tail woe on that. So, again, I use the RC Pro, but I had my update failed twice in a row where I only got to 1% and failed on the drone. So I turned everything off. Made sure internet wasn't an issue, and then I only turned the controller on, Bill, not the drone, and up popped the thing that wanted to update the Fly app. Because Fly updated also. So on the controller, I hit the okay. and updated the Fly app or whatever. When I got the Fly app all squared away, then I started the drone up again, right? And then on the first try, the update went right through, did the usual, took like, 15 minutes or whatever, but it kept choking on it, the update, until I had the Fly app updated on the controller.
Right. You had to update the Fly app first before you could update the drone.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got a remark in the chat from Mark White. He's asking, because we were talking about that augmented reality return to home, and he's talking about the shadow it places the drone when you're looking down. And Mark, that is really cool. Now, Skydio has had that for years, but Ron, when I was landing, it didn't get a precision landing. It was off the pad, so I stopped the landing and I pointed the camera down, and I used that shadow to get right over the top of the landing pad, and sure enough, plopped it right down in the middle of the H by putting that shadow of the drone right on the mark. It's
just like we used to do, like you said, with the Skydio too.
Yeah.
And I did 2 return to homes, Bill, and the shadow and the camera, even the camera pitches itself down, when it's coming down there.
And
the shadow comes out. Now I took off of the street. I didn't have a landing pad down, but it pretty much landed in the same spot. It took off both times. I mean, I can't say it would have been dead on a pad, but it was almost right in the same spot. But the shadow, I mean, that's another great feature to the AR. Return to home, you get the shadow. And then when I took off the street, Bill, I didn't really care where it landed, because I mean, within a broad range. But if I was trying to land, sometimes I try to land in a tight spot where the landing pads, only so big, and you're on the beach, you don't want it to sand. Sometimes I try to land on tabletops, the side of walls and things like that.
Yeah. Great point,
Ron. Real handy on those situations or whatever. Yeah, you're taking off from the parking lot or whatever. You could care less or whatever. But it's that, Marcus, how many times have you been on a whole big old parking lot, and the drone comes down and wants to hit the one edge of the curb or whatever? It could land any place it wants, but it picks the edge of the curb. Yeah,
and one of the issues I have is I don't have very good depth perception. So it's just a handy aid for me. Hey, I wanted to point out, Waypoint New England is pointing out that he failed 5 times on over the app, and then he used Assistant 2 and was able to get it done. So
I wonder if he had the same problems I did. He didn't have the app updated on the controller ahead of time.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah,
that's very possible. Real quick, and then we're going to move on to the next point here. In the app, to activate it in the app, go to Settings, Safety, AR Settings, and select to enable. Okay.
It was pre-enabled on mine, Bill.
Mine as well.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a good call, Bill.
Yeah, and here in safety, advanced safety settings, downward positioning section, you're free to choose whether to enable it. This is just some additional information.
And mine was clicked on there.
That's the landing protection switch.
That's the landing protection. Yeah.
I didn't use that.
And what does landing protection do again exactly, Marcus?
So what it does is instead of the drone pausing as it comes down, it will just come straight down.
So if you're in a boat or whatever,
that's it. Why is that important? That's if you're on a boat, or if you're hand catching, maybe if you're those guys that are brave enough to do that.
If you're on Captain Ray's fishing boat at the South Florida Drone Meetup, that could come in real handy.
Yep.
And Lauren brings up a good point too. Don't forget the Fly app update for those using the RCN1. That's a good point. Thank you, Lauren.
And that did. I went ahead and updated it on my iPhone. I presume if you're on Android, you just simply go to DJI's website so you can sideload it.
Now the other update was new D-Log M and HLG color modes for telephoto cameras here. That's for those who choose to go ahead and be able to do this in post. I mean, that's your that does sound like a great feature. I mean, that's something that.
And Bill, this is what I was talking about earlier. I don't think this is available in the regular Mavic 3.
In the regular, you're probably right. Mavic 3 Pro, Mavic 3 Pro Cine.
It says Mavic 3. Oh, Cine. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's right. It's right here.
Yeah.
So that's.
Bill, I just want to make sure that's way above my pay grade.
Yeah, it is for me too. Okay, and then new intelligent features added to mid-range camera. The mid-range camera in the Mavic 3 Pro, Mavic 3 Pro Cine support night scene video, master lens, one-click short film, and spherical panorama. Capture only, no synthesis, meaning they don't put it together for you. The updated Mavic 3 Pro compared to the Air 3 has added spherical panoramic shooting for telephoto purposes. However, it does not automatically combine them. Users need to use computer software for the synthesis. Common panorama synthesis software, it tells you right here, Photoshop and PT GUI. So, okay.
And Bill, that's for the 3X Tele, right?
Right.
That is just for the spherical, though, Ron.
Yeah. That's for the spherical. Yeah. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So what are your guys' thoughts after taking it out today? You know, as far as, do you think part of it's gimmicky and part of it is actually useful, or what are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's listen, I guess the best way to put it is, when I got the Air 3, I was going, wow, what more does this guy bring to the table than the Air 3? Well, DJI just showed us, right? They added these features, and particularly, you know, I don't know, for somebody like me that I'm just a hobbyist, really, is it that big of a deal? Not so much, but if you're a pro and you're trying to get cinematic shots for whether it's a video production or real estate or whatever it is, boy, I can see. The other thing we didn't talk about, Bill, is the framing assist that it has on there, and I messed around with that a little bit, where it shadows the sides of your 16:9 frame, so that if you're shooting in a certain aspect ratio, you can see what that looks like. So anyway, that's another one.
Let me help Marcus on that thing. Basically, Bill, it's just like the 9:16 mode on the Air 3 or whatever. It just has about a dozen of them instead of that one that the Air 3 has. And why that's important is you can still see the whole screen when it's like they mask it.
Yeah, so it's also important to say that what the video output is still going to be the whole screen. It not unlike the Air 3, where all you see is that vertical video. You're still going to see the whole screen, but it assists you in framing, and I think that's another probably pro feature.
I mean, and if you wonder why, well, why the heck would I want that? What you can do is if you could pick a format like whatever 1x1 in there, you can go into your editor like Final Cut Pro, and you could pick 1x1 in there, and it'll just automatically do it for you, and you'll have your subject centered because you knew what it was going to look like. You got a preview of what it's going to look like when you're flying the drone.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's perfect, Ron. That's a perfect description. And thank you guys for your insight into this, because I'm jealous, that's for sure, because
and Bill, I don't think it's a gimmick that the AR return to home. I mean, my drone both times just took a beeline straight line to me, so it was no thing. But if you were ever in a situation where the drone had to choose a non-straight line back to you, it sure of a heck would make me feel a lot better to know what route I was choosing ahead of time.
Yeah,
and of course I did that on purpose, Ron, and it was really cool to see that it drew that line, and you knew exactly where it was going to go.
Yeah. Well,
it says in the description, Bill, it's peace of mind, knowing exactly what the return route's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, there's no article on this, but there is a picture of the Pocket 3. Okay, and it's our good friend Igor posted that, and I want to go ahead and put that.
See, I got Bill saying it now too.
Maybe it's Igor in the picture there. He's Bill's in the show.
Yeah.
All right, and here it is. Let's try to see. I'm gonna blow it up here a little bit. Okay. Wow. I mean, we have been talking about this ad nauseum for the past several weeks, and
where's Scott to do at tonight?
And then
he's been talking about it for every year.
Boom! It's here, and what do you? I mean, from what I'm looking at, the screen does look a little bit bigger on it.
It does. Actually, you know what it looks like? You know what it looks like, guys? What's that knockoff company? They made like a pocket camera this summer where you could detach the head from it and magnetically stick in the wall or something like that. This screen stuff sort of looks like what that knockoff one looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably
I
right.
forget the name of it. If I said the name, you know. When I say knockoff, they've made some stuff for, but it looks like that knockoff. But I guess we all wanted a bigger screen, so a bigger screen is a nice upgrade because it's people with a bit older eyes here. We don't like the teeny weeny screens, and I don't think that's got a touch screen on it. But I mean, nobody could ever touch that tiny screen or whatever and get any good out of it. But yeah. I mean, it looks a little bit bigger, Bill. I hope it's not too big because I don't want a pocket that doesn't fit in the pocket anymore.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about the main topic of the night, Mini 3 Pro is on sale. Okay.
Oh,
and
surprise.
This was not a surprise. I was actually kind of waiting for this, and it jumped out there. Over $300. $313 off. Mini 3 Pro, the RC controller, Flymore Kit Plus would set you back $1,158. Right now, you can get it for $845. Okay.
Bill, do you think this is a good time to buy a Mini 3 Pro right now?
It is a good time to buy a Mini 3 Pro.
Well, if you don't want to get caught in the upgrade game, huh?
Well, yeah, if you don't want to get caught in the upgrade game, yeah, I would say this would be a good time for you. However, if you want to kick back, wait and see, I would go ahead and do that.
And you may not be waiting too long, Bill.
Yes, we may not be waiting too long because we're gonna jump right into this here because I think this is just, it kind of lends itself to this right here. Now, the first thing that I want to share, and we hadn't seen a whole lot from our friend for Ositalev till today, and he points out, oh, there's a date here, September 15th. And I'm like, wow.
He put the question mark, like maybe does he know something or is that a guess?
And then look who answers under here. Our good friend Igor, okay?
Except it's in Cyrillic, I don't understand.
Yeah, and I don't know what he typed something in Russian here because that looks like their alphabet. So I have no idea what he was saying here.
No, is your Russian a little rusty?
It's a little on the translate post, okay? Soon, okay? Google translated it to soon. So yeah.
Bill, I better dust the credit card off pretty soon.
You better dust that credit card off because I didn't expect. I expected it in October. I didn't expect it this month, but this is what we're finding out. Okay, and what we're also finding out here too. All right, let's see, get the article up here.
And how about this? We're close when we not only get a clear picture of the drone, we get the box and we get the side of the box and the specs. Remember, even right before the Air 3 came out, they wouldn't show us that side of the box with the specs.
We didn't get, and we're getting that side with the specs right here. You can see it right here, and I'm going to try to bring this up here. And what's nice is it's printed also in English as well too. Looking at 4K 100 HDR 48 megapixel photo.
And we believe that 100 megabytes is up 100 frames per second is up from 60 on maxed out on the Mini 3 Pro at 4K.
Yeah, and it says transmission video FHD 20 kilometers.
And Bill, that's maxed out on the Mini 3 Pro. It was 12. So that's 8
okay.
kilometers more. And Bill, that may be due to the OcuSync 4.
Yeah, because that's one of the things it doesn't say on here, the OcuSync 4, but yeah. I would almost hazard a guess that would be a logical choice for this drone, that it would have OcuSync 4 on it. To have that increased kind of distance, that's the only way that's going to happen.
Bill, I bet you soda pop, you're right, or
Yeah, I don't.
OcuSync 4.
I don't count that.
Your choice.
Okay. Intelligent flight features, focus track, waypoint flight, hyperlapse, 4K 100 frames per second, HDR video, 48 megapixel photo, true vertical shooting, 34-minute flight time on 20-kilometer FHD video transmission. I mean, this, wow. I mean, we're getting,
let's break it down here before we get too overhyped here. A lot of this stuff is similar. I mean, we get the bump up in frames per second. We get possibly OcuSync we get waypoints, and we get omnidirectional optical avoidance. So they're really the 4 things that we know we're kind of getting from here, right, Bill? And I'm going to say that frame rate bump that's very incremental, whatever. That's no big deal. But
that's
always
not
apply the Air 3. Know how good 04 is, and if you're a waypoint fan, I mean, some people don't care about waypoints, some do, or whatever. I'm a lukewarm waypoint person, but I mean, there's some good things here, but it's a lot of it, Bill's going to come down to the pricing. How much are we going to have to pay extra to get 04 and 360 optical avoidance or omnidirectional optical avoidance?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that as well too. Right now, currently, we just saw the price for the Mini 3 Pro for the Fly More kit, $1,150. Okay, so my guess it's going to be in that kind of a price range. It'll probably be about $1,200 or so. Do
you think we'll see a small price bump, like a 10% price bump or something?
Yes, because while there are improvements, and I had a lot of comments because I posted this out on my community tab out on YouTube, and a lot of people are saying, what I've been getting from the comments is that these are incremental improvements, not quantum leap improvements. Go ahead, Marcus.
Well, here's what we're missing as citizens of the United States. So while these may seem incremental to us, if you are in the UK, if you are in Canada, where you can use a sub 250 drone, you want the same, or as close as you can get to the same kind of professional level features that you get on a bigger drone. You want it in that mini size so that you can get right below that level of all of those drone laws that keep you from flying places that you want to fly. So
that's a great point, Marcus.
Yeah, well, it may seem incremental to us. To those other markets, it's a big deal.
Right, it is a very big deal. And the only thing with those other markets, they won't be able to use that longer flight time battery because that's going to kick that over 249 grams.
That's very true.
Now, guys, do you think that this? I mean, we're just conjecture here because it's not the box saying this. Do you think we'll see a stacked sensor on this drone like we got in the Air 3 line of drones? Well, in other words, will we get stacked?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Okay. Well, that I mean, some people may call that incremental, but I would say that's a big deal if they stacked it.
Well, let me throw this at you guys then. So now we got, I don't know about you guys, but I was totally surprised by this Mavic 3 update today. Do you think any of those features will find themselves on this drone? And the ones that I'm thinking of are like the augmented reality stuff on return to home, etc. It's possible.
Excellent point, Marcus. I was going to say probably that augmented reality, you're probably going to find that on this drone here, okay? Because it's not, that augmented reality can really, in essence, be put on pretty much any kind of DJI drone, okay? Right. It's independent of the camera system, whether or not it has OcuSync 4 or 3, it doesn't matter, okay? So yeah, that is a great point, and I think that's a feature that we'll see on this that they haven't mentioned already.
And the Mini 3 Pro as it sits does not have that optimized return to home feature that we have on the Air 3 and on the Mavic 3. Could they put that on there as well?
Well, Marcus, do you think that omnidirectional optical avoidance would allow them to do that?
That's exactly where I was going with that, Rod.
Great point, guys. That's a great point. This and to me, and I'm going to say this for those that are talking in incremental, okay, this omnidirectional obstacle avoidance is huge because you have this. Think about it. It's in a sub 250 gram drone, all right, and it's full on obstacle avoidance. Okay, when the Mini first came out, we were like, oh, it doesn't have it, no big deal, we're okay. But then as we start getting more and more, we get the Mini 3 Pro, we're like, okay, yeah, I can, it's something I kind of got to need now, and now having omnidirectional, okay, that's going to give probably, I think that's a game changer. I think that makes a big difference for a lot of people.
Just think
how we also have a lot of people in the community though that are dead set against optical avoidance that don't want it at all. So that wouldn't mean anything to those folks.
Right.
Turn it off then. Yeah. But I was just thinking how far we've come with OA, particularly on sub 250 drones. You remember the big splash that the Xeno Mini Pro made because it was going to have obstacle avoidance. Of course, it didn't really work on that drone. But but DJI, when DJI came to the table with it, with the Mini 3 Pro,
will this be the first mini drone with omnidirectional obstacle avoidance?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, even ones that don't work. I mean, even none of the Hubsons even had omnidirectional.
Yeah, no, and of course, Ron, you had the Nano Plus, and it worked on the Nano just like it does on the Light.
And it's not omnidirectional, of course.
It is not omnidirectional,
and it's not the fact that it doesn't work. It actually is too aggressive or whatever. Like it beeps like
we had a lot of
like a time bomb when you take off near anything.
Yeah, you had a lot of falsing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm saying it works too good, tongue in the cheek. It's too aggressive or too over avoiding. It avoids things that aren't there.
No, it says here that there's going to be 4 different versions of this: the DJI Mini 4 Pro with the RCN2,
yes.
the DJI Mini 4 Pro with the RC2,
yes.
the DJI Mini 4 Pro Fly More Combo with the RC2, and the DJI Mini 4 Fly More Combo Plus with the RC2.
Now, do you think this will be the same controllers we saw with the Air 3, Bill?
I think so. I think you're going to get the exact same controllers.
Yeah.
So
in other words, we could say the same thing we say every time. We could just wait about 6 months and buy this drone only, and pair it with our controller we got with the Air 3.
That's an excellent point, Ron. That is an excellent point.
And then when you go out flying, you don't have to take 2 drones, 1 controller.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be ready. It'll be ready to go. Well, you know what I'm kind of waiting for is when they update the DJI RC Pro to OcuSync 4.
Now, will they ever do that, or just come out with a DJI RC?
I don't know.
2?
I don't know. If they come out with a new one, I'll probably scream because I just paid mine off. So,
oh boy,
it is a cool controller. I mean, this thing. If you haven't used it in a while, just like today, I hadn't used it in a while, and man, it's so impressive. Yeah.
Hey, Marcus, I totally agree with you. But today, when I was flying it, I flew it down to the pier, and when I got to the pier, I lost the bar. Now, believe me, I still have full control of the drone. The FPV feet still look great, but I lost the bar on the signal strength. When I fly the new Air 3 down that location, I don't lose any bars.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. I flew the Air 3 this weekend and had got a new video coming out on it. And what I did on purpose, and what first I didn't do it on purpose, I kind of did it on accident. You know how? Well, for me with the Mini 3 Pro, I have to be facing the direction that drone's flying. Okay, or if I get to 1,200 to 1,500 feet away, I'm going to start getting that error message pop up. About signal strength.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I kind of did this, and then I realized it was an accident, but I kind of ended up staying that way. My back was faced towards, for a minute to where the drone was flying because I flew it overhead. All right. And lo and behold, I let go for a few minutes and there was nothing. I had no problems with that whatsoever. The other thing, and this is the first time it's really worked for me very well. We have a very small private airstrip, probably, I'm going to say less than 5 miles away. Okay. So it doesn't fall under the purview of a real airport because it's a private strip.
They don't have a control tower or anything.
There's no control tower there. I think it's even a grass strip. Okay. So it's not even really an official runway. Well, what was real neat was, I had my aircraft warning pop up. All right. And it came up before I even heard it. All right. And what was really cool about it was by the time I heard it, it was so far away. Okay, it wasn't even a threat. And then when I was coming back to land, another aircraft had taken off. It was in the vicinity. I could hear it, and then I ended up seeing it. And again, same thing. It wasn't going to be a threat to where I was, but I thought it was real cool because this is the first time I thought it's consistently worked for me popping up when I had the Air 3 out.
No, you're totally right, Bill. The ASB or whatever it's called, it works much better on this drone than I've seen in any other drone. For the first time ever, I saw it work on a helicopter.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
it works better than I've ever seen it work before.
So it's ADSB is what we're talking about, and
right.
And it to your point, it worked. It was much more sensitive on the Air 2S, and then when I switched to the Mavic 3, in fact, I did a video about it. Mavic 3 wasn't nearly as sensitive, and I still see that today. The Air 3 seems to be more sensitive still than the Mavic 3 with ADSB.
Well, speaking of those updates for the Mavic 3, okay, I'm gonna say this. I think we may see one or two of those from the Mavic 3 pop onto the Air 3, okay, especially the AR.
That the augmented reality and the augmented reality, the shadow of your drone when landing. I mean, that should be on all drones. I mean, that's a cool feature. Yeah,
I agree, and I think, in like we talked about previously, I think it'll be on the Mini 4 Pro. Okay, and one of the other things that I wanted to talk about the Mini 4 Pro before before I forget was not only a release date but availability. And availability lately, and I'm going to say pretty much this year, okay, we have not run into any issues with that, okay, as far as ordering the drone, getting it in a day or two. Well, the Air 3, oh my gosh, it was like lightning getting here. I got mine from Adorama. It was like boom, boom. It was like one day shipping, and it was here. It was crazy. And I know, Marcus, I know you were the same. And that's fantastic.
2 days, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I ordered it Wednesday, it was here Friday. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy. And I think we'll see the same thing here too with the Mini 4.
Hey, Bill, we got a comment in the chat from Kenny. Place it here. Why is it good to let you know about an aircraft that's not a threat? Well, it may not be here's I just like the overall situational awareness, and that's just me. I think you're making a fair point, Kenny. I get what you're saying, but for me, I like the situational awareness of it, and the fact that it does kind of make you hyper aware for where manned aircraft could be at, and so you do just get that blip where he's a ways out. But what if he did turn toward you? You'd already be aware of him and know that it was coming.
Yeah, and that'd be addressed as Ken Hoffbauer, the great Ken Hoffbauer there. Yeah. Ken, my what's his comment? What was it? Okay, let you know about aircraft is not a threat. Well, that Mark's case and Bill's case was the case of my helicopter. The beach, it was a threat. It was low and it came right over at one point. So it was definitely a threat, and it let me know about it.
So also Captain Joe is asking about 2 F-16s that he saw today. 2 things to remember with ADSB. If the aircraft is not in controlled airspace, they're not required to be squawking, right? They're not required to have ADSB on. Number 2, military aircraft use ADSB at their discretion. So he, just because they just didn't have it on, right?
Yeah. So, that's why, it's a good, I think it helps make you situationally aware. But as a good Part 107 pilot, one of the things I do before I even start recording, okay, I'm looking, I'm cranking my neck around. I'm looking up in the sky. More often than not, I got blue skies around here, and it's real easy for me to determine if there's another plane up there. And one of the things I got to say this, I'm blessed with good hearing, and I listen. As much as my mother drilled into me, it's better to use those 2 things attached on the side of your head than what's in front called your mouth. Okay, you learn a lot more that way. And that's what I did. I'll stop and I'll listen before I even power up the cameras or do anything, I'm looking around. I'm being situationally aware. I'm knowing where things are, and it makes a big difference. You know, this ADS-B, it helps us. Okay, it's an aid for us, but you should never substitute it for your own eyesight. Okay, in your own sensors, your ears and your eyes. Okay, you know they're going to be your best sensors with this. All right, and you know you get that warning. You know, don't panic is one thing, you know, number one. And number two, you know, if you're not sure, just stop. Just take your hands off the controller, stop and see where you're at and assess the situation. Don't panic, okay? You know, our good friend Rick Smith, he unfortunately panicked and he went the wrong way and he lost his drone because of that. All right. You know, so it's just kind of a you know, a lesson for all of us here, especially with this ADS-B. You know, it's a great reminder for us, but it's not a substitute. Okay. You know, and I know Marcus and Ron echo this as well. You know, use your eyes, use your ears, be aware, you know, have that sixth sense about you. Know when things are right. Okay. And know where you're flying, because, you know, I know that there's that field, you know, it's a private strip a couple of miles away. Okay. I know that. So, you know, it helps make me aware of knowing what's around and being situationally aware. That's
Bill. Look at Henry Mills's comment, the most recent comment. He says he flies agriculture areas a lot, and the ADS-B is very helpful with the crop dusters who fly particularly low.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Henry. Thank you. Yeah, and here's another thing. It's difficult to fly because all the low-flying planes and helicopters. Yeah, that's another good point too. Right. Because over in St. Augustine, they probably have a lot of tours. And I know over at St. Pete and St. Pete Beach here where we live, okay, there's a lot of tourist helicopters that are going up and down the beach, okay, and for sightseeing. And you got to be real careful. You know, it's like, you know, when Ron and I went to the beach when we flew together back in 2019, okay, you know, there was, I mean, it was later in the afternoon, it was almost evening, and there wasn't, you know, they're not going to be making those kind of flights at that time of day. So, you know, we were good with something like that. But
Bill, at my beach, I don't get tourist helicopters, but I got a lot of Coast Guard helicopters.
Yeah, we got
we got a lot of Coast Guard because they're looking for things in the ocean at times.
Well, you know, where one of my employers was when I first moved down here, there's a Coast Guard station right there, and it was like buzzing all the time. I mean, it was right out over the bay. I mean, you know, yeah, those are kind of areas you don't even think about it. You know, you need to be very aware of where you're at and what you're doing here.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know,
if the Mini 3, if the Mini 4 Pro has the ADS-B, it'll be the first mini drone with that, Marcus.
Yeah, they don't put it on the mini drones, so that's a great point, Ron. I wonder if we would see that on the Mini 4 Pro. Now, if you're talking like their rules in Canada doesn't see a sub 250 drone as a threat to manned aircraft. So I don't know. That's a good question.
You know, I'm thinking, and I'm going to say this, and that's a great point, Ron. I don't know if I'm thinking for ADS-B, it's not just software, it's hardware. I think there has to be an additional piece of hardware. Probably. So I think that would probably, something would have to give in order for them to be able to put something like that on a mini drone. So that's a good point. Maybe they can figure it out. Okay.
Yeah.
These engineers get paid buku bucks for stuff like that. That's all I can say.
Hey, Bill, before we start wrapping up, of course, next week is Apple Week, the new iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
I think the watches will be out on Tuesday. Do you think DJI will release a product during Apple Week? Because sometimes Apple kind of sucks all the oxygen out of the air in those weeks, and they won't get much press.
When is the 15th? I'm trying to look.
That's a Friday, which we don't usually get a DJI release on a Friday.
Yeah, that would be odd for a Friday. I would say
never know. When people like Asilev gives these dates, we never know if that's the date that the drone's actually on sale, or that's the day that the email comes out letting us know about the drone. You know,
you're right.
That's confused a lot. The actual date the drone comes out and the day it's announced are two different things normally.
Well, remember, this is the first time he has put something out in quite some time. Okay, we haven't seen a lot from him. Okay, Igor has been posting a lot, and Jasper Ellens had posted a lot. But this is the first that we've actually seen something from him for quite some time. And that's a good point. And and also too, does he mean that it might come out the day before, like on the 14th? Because of his time, it's already the 15th, kind of a thing. Who knows? Okay, who knows?
Who knows? But I'm just thinking that we may not see it next week because of the Apple event sucking the kind of oxygen out of the room. With
you might be right. I mean, well, I got to say this on a side note that all I think it's called. Is it the Ultra watch? Okay.
Yeah, the Ultra is supposed to get an update this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at. I tell you what, that's a watch I would get in a nuclear second. Okay. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was reading about that, and I'm like, wow.
Hey, Bill, so what more does it do for you that the regular Apple Watch doesn't? I'm curious.
Well, it has altitude barometer on it. Those are a couple things that. Well,
battery life is a big deal, right? It lasts.
Yeah, the battery life is tremendous on that watch.
And a barometer, Marcus, like our original Hubsan Xenos, the barometer.
Yeah. Well, really, all your drones have a barometer.
Yeah, I just can't remember when you talk about the barometer. Bill, when I took a look at the last year's original Ultra, I just looked at it sort of, well, this is a watch for runners and bicyclists, and I don't do all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a. But and it's also, I think, geared toward diving, like scuba diving.
Another thing I don't do.
Yeah, and I don't do scuba diving. I don't climb, but I'm always interested in altitude and
just for the altitude alone would be cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good looking watch. I mean, it's a little bit thicker, and like you said, better battery life. And I think it has more ways to communicate. Like it's an amazing tech product, but I mean, I don't know. But it's double the price of the regular watch.
No, Ron, you're out there flying your drone, right? You got your controller in your hand. You're flying. Somebody sees that big hunk of that watch on your arm, they're going to go, "That guy's a pro."
Or the same people that are going to hunt me down remote ID will say, "We'll get this guy's drone and his watch."
Yeah, baby.
Absolutely, guys. Any closing?
I know you're trying to wrap up, but what did you think about that story about some of the modules don't have very, very strong transmission signal, and some of these modules may not even go like 100 yards or whatever. So like the thieves would have to be like kind of in your neighborhood to actually see you flying a drone with
that. I saw that, and that just well, are my question is are these approved by the FAA? That's a big question. Are these modules approved by the FAA?
Well, I guess maybe that's part of the slowdown is they need some kind of approval. But I don't know that, Bill. I never asked that.
Would they have to be approved by the FCC as well?
Yeah, I think so, because it's gonna have communication protocols in there, and it has to be approved by the FCC. So yeah, so there you go.
What do you think of all these rumors that the remote ID is going to be delayed because they can't get these modules sorted out?
I believe it's true, and I heard it several weeks ago. Okay, even before Ken Heron talked about it, I heard it and verified it through several different sources that it's going to be delayed. I mean, it's like it's on us right now. I mean, it's September 5th. When was
we got 11? We got 11 days, Bill.
11 days. Yeah,
where's your modules, Bill?
Yeah, it's going to be delayed.
So I've got another idea there, though, that they could do. They could do kind of a soft rollout. They could say, listen, September 16th is still the day. And if you've got a drone that has standard remote ID on it, we expect you to use your remote ID. However, if you have a Phantom 4 and you're doing business with you, no, we're not going to enforce that rule until such a time as that the product is available for you to use, right? I mean, that's something that they could do.
I mean, that's a great idea, Marcus, but that would come to be, will the FAA ever, will they ever make that public, or will that just be something that's kind of,
they'd have to announce it.
Under the table, you know what I mean?
No, they'd have to announce it, Ron.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd have to announce it, yeah.
Yeah, that would have to go out for public privy, that kind of thing. So, any closing thoughts here, guys?
Bill, it's going to be a busy September for these tech products. Bill, did you mention that the GoPro Hero 12 is coming out for sure on Wednesday because it's on their website. We still don't know the specs or the pricing, but it'll be having pre-order. So as Air Photography told me, I think last year when I saw about all this stuff in September, I said it's going to be a busy September, and he told me it's going to be an expensive September.
Yeah. Well, wait. October's knocking on the door. Okay.
That could be pricey too if the Pocket 3 shows up.
Yeah, Marcus.
Yeah, you guys are both absolutely right. There's a lot going on right now. This deal today was a big surprise, a fun surprise. I got to tell you, it was exciting. However, a lot to keep us busy. And listen, there's so much uproar over September 16th in remote ID. It's just going to be like the Y2K fiasco. It's going to come and go, and it's not going to change how you're flying your drone at all. Listen, if you have a drone that has standard remote ID and register it as a remote ID drone, fly it as you're always going to do, and you're not going to have any problem.
Right, you're going to take that Mavic 3 out on September 16th, and you're not going to do anything different than you are today.
You're not going to do anything different. So I just think it's a little bit of a nothing burger. Listen, I'm not saying I don't understand some of the concerns about it, because I absolutely do. I'm just saying, don't let it stop you from enjoying your hobby.
Yeah, here's your concern. You have a $50 toy drone, and you got to buy a $200 module to put on it to fly it. That's the concern.
Well, I'm going to say the guys that I feel sorry for the most are the RC plane guys that have been flying their frickin' RC planes for 50 years, and now all of a sudden have something that they have to deal with. And Ron and I have discussed this before, Bill. The Avata gave me a real appreciation for what the FPV guys do. You're never higher than a tree. Why does anybody need to know where you're flying your FPV drone? I mean, it's kind of like, it's a little bit weird. However, the Congress mandated this. This is what a lot of people, they scream at the FAA. In the FAA, the Congress mandate, they told the FAA that they had to come up with a way to track drones. And so, like it or not.
And remember, a year or two, we encourage everybody to write their congressmen, because they're the ones that not the FAA, write your Congress people.
They villainize the FAA. The FAA is just doing what Congress tells them to do. That's all. So
yeah. Well, and that this is such a great point. And you know what? And I'm going to say this. It's not Republican. It's not Democrat. Okay. It's both sides of the aisle. Okay. It doesn't matter what flavor you are.
That's the one thing they can agree. Banning drones is the one thing they can bipartisan issue.
Yeah. They can disagree on a whole lot of stuff, but that's one thing they agree on. And, and I got to say this, I would like to walk up to some people. Okay. Some of these famous people who are talking about DJI, and this is kind of my close here, and talk to them and say, for example, Marco Rubio, he's been blasting the crap out of DJI, our senator from Florida, okay?
Yep.
And I would say, Senator Rubio, can you explain to me, a Part 107 pilot, why you want to ban DJI drones in the state, not only in the state of Florida, but across the country? Why is it a national security threat? Can you tell me that, or is this so hush-hush, we don't know, we can't find out about it, I'm at a loss to try to explain it. I get on my soapbox for that for hours.
Hey, before we go here, Mark White has a comment there about RC plane guys flying in Afria. That's just not true, Mark. There are a lot of some of the parks that I fly at, Heroes Park, I see RC plane guys there all the time. That park is not a FRIA and will never be a FRIA. So what are we saying? Are we telling those guys that they can't fly their plane now? That's not good. They're not.
Yeah. That one of the things I can tell you from having dabbled in that hobby, okay, it's just not these airfields that you fly at, okay,
right.
You got to fly in a big open space, but it's just not there, and it can be anywhere, and I want to say this, before we end up closing tonight, real thankful, because a week ago tonight we were batting down the hatches, getting ready for this big storm, and it was a nothing burger. Thankfully, okay, we're very thankful for that.
How close were you to any real damage, Bill? How far?
Probably about 150 miles away,
Okay.
because it skirted up. It took a loop and it hit.
A lot of places in Florida hit people I've never heard of before. I guess
it hit Cedar Key, okay, and that's in what they call the Bend up at the top of the state.
Yeah, a lot of us never heard about the Bend before.
Yeah, and it's not very populated up there, which, I was saying earlier, it's very fortunate, because when it came ashore, I saw some video from it hitting Cedar Key. It was pretty rough, okay? And that's why I told people ad nauseum, it's like last year when Ian hit us, okay? At the last possible second, it was headed directly to hit Tampa. We were going to get the brunt of it. We were going to get 8 to 10 foot storm surges. Okay. The last second it veered and hit Fort Myers, and Ron, that area down there, it destroyed Fort Myers down there. It literally destroyed
Fort Myers Beach. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It would have destroyed. I mean, it would have been, we would have directly been impacted where it was coming. It was pretty much full on where we live. Okay. And we're about 6-7 miles from the Gulf, or not from the Gulf, but from the Bay here. So yeah, it would have hit us and impacted us. So
yeah, I have a friend that lives in Port Charlotte, and their condo got it was bad. Yeah, lots of damage.
So yeah, and I want to thank Ron and Marcus as always. You guys do exceptional work. And if you didn't catch their show, they had a pre-recorded show yesterday. Get out there and watch it. It was good. I did see that. You guys did a great job on that. So, make sure you guys go out there and watch that. That was a good show. Got lots more coming up, guys. There is so much. I want to call your attention to this before I sign off. I got my Lycus case for the Air 3. You guys need to watch that video.
Now, is that a hard case, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys got to watch that video.
That's posted already?
No, it's coming.
Oh, okay,
it's going to come out tomorrow.
Okay. I got a hard case coming too, Bill, but it's that brand that Ron Brown uses.
And the Marcus finally got hooked up with Johnny and I's little our little provider.
Awesome. Well, hey everybody, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody.